So at some point in pretty much every homeowner's life, they're gonna come across a leaking outdoor faucet or hose bib. So this is an incredibly common issue that comes up, but the good news is it's very easily fixed. And there's a couple of different ways you can go about doing it. There's a temporary fix, which I'm gonna show you, which will help get you by to doing more of a permanent fix. But the good news is about the permanent fix is that it's incredibly easy to do, takes basic tools, and is very, very inexpensive to take care of yourself. What I'm gonna show you will fix about 99% of the leaking faucet issues that you're gonna come across. So let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, so as you can see, here is one of my outdoor faucets or spigots, and we have a fairly steady drip going on. It's not just like streaming out of it, which this is more common. Typically, you are just gonna have just a steady, constant drip going on. And that is because with all of these faucets, whether you have one like mine or you have one that is called a freeze-proof faucet, which we'll get into that a little bit later, there is one part internally that either is just getting completely worn out or just completely compressed to where it's allowing just that slight bit of water to bypass that valve. So this very easy fix, and this is going to go for the permanent one as well, where we're going to use this again, but if you look on the vast majority of outdoor faucets, you will see what looks like a nut on the front of the assembly. Or if your faucet or your handle is up on top, you'll see a nut sitting up on top of the assembly. All right, so as you can see, we still have our steady drip here. So now all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take an adjustable wrench. This is gonna be the best tool for the job. I'm just gonna take that adjustable wrench, put it on that nut, tighten it down, and all I need to do now is turn it clockwise or to the right. What I'm doing by doing this is I'm tightening up that housing, and by tightening up that housing, we're compressing the washer that is inside of this outdoor faucet. And by compressing that washer, we're shutting off any possible flow of water to get by it. And as you can see now, since I've gotten rid of that residual water, it is no longer dripping at all. So again, this is a very temporary fix. Exact time frame I can't give you. It can completely vary, just depending on how bad the washer is internally. But this is something that in most cases will definitely get you by, at least for a temporary time, to where then you can completely fix this. So in order to do this, the first step that needs to be taken is the water needs to be shut off to the house. So if you're on city water, more than likely, you're going to have a main shutoff. They can be in different places. A lot of times they're either going to be out by the road in a box that's down in the ground. It may be covered by grass at this point, and you'll need to locate that. Once you locate that box and open it up, it's going to require a special tool to then shut that gate off. But those are very easily found. You can either find them at your local home improvement store, or they also sell them online like Amazon or other retailers, which, like always, for your convenience, I'll have links for that along with all of the other tools you're going to see in this video. I'll have links for everything you see down in the description down below. So when you click on those links, it will take you directly to whatever it is you're wanting to take a look at, so you can check it all out for yourself. So if that is where your shutoff is, you need to shut it off there. Or if you're like me and you're on a well, we're gonna need to turn that well off. So the best way of doing this is to either, like at my house, I have a main shutoff on the outside of my home. I can access it there and turn it off. Or if you have a well, you're all going to have this, where if you go down to your well or your well house, there's gonna be a ball valve and a shutoff, usually right there at the pump. Then all you need to do is just turn it to the closed position. Usually it forms a cross with the pipe, and that way you know that your water is off. All right, so now that the main water is shut off, now what I want to do is I want to take the pressure off of my plumbing and the pipes. That way when I go to start taking this apart, it doesn't just start spraying everywhere. So all we need to do then is open up our outdoor faucet and just let it drain out until no more water is coming out of it. All right, so as you can see, we're down to a drip. So the water is completely shut off. There's no pressure on this with this completely open. So now we can get down to disassembling this and getting to the core issue. So the first thing that I want to do with this is I want to get a pipe wrench or something that I can use as to something I can pull or counter pull against the direction that I'm going to be pulling in order to loosen all this up. A lot of times these can be in here very tight due to them being there for years. So what I like to do is I like to take a pipe wrench. I'm going to put it on the housing, on the actual housing of this hose bib, just like so. I've got it pointed out to my right, almost to like a 2 o'clock position. And then I'm gonna take my adjustable wrench and I'm gonna put it back on that nut that I showed you a little while ago. Except again, in this case, instead of tightening it and going clockwise, we're gonna be wanting to loosen it and go counterclockwise. There's a couple of different schools of thought for this. You can either put your wrenches very close to each other where the handles are close to each other, but also pushing in the opposite direction or the counterclockwise direction in order to loosen up the housing. So this can be an effective way of doing it. As you can see, it came loose just like that. Or another way that can be done is my pipe wrench is still going in a right facing direction. I can then take my adjustable wrench from the left in an opposite direction and then pull it counterclockwise. And then just like that, it loosens up. The thing with these is once it's loosened up, generally, it's gonna be very easy to then remove it the rest of the way, and you can remove it by hand by continuing to turn it counterclockwise. So just like that, we're able to remove the valve portion from the housing. All right, so as you can see here, this black portion, this is my seal. This one really is not too bad at all. However, you can see there's like a ring or an indentation going all the way around the top of that seal right there. That's what we were talking about earlier with compressing it down. With that temporary fix, by compressing it down, it was making up for the wear that's on this seal, pushing it up even further against the housing to be able to shut off the water again. But once these start degrading, they only get worse, and it's just a matter of time. So let me just show you just how easy this is. If we look up here at the top of the seal, you'll see there's a Phillips head screw there. All we need to do is take a screwdriver like this, put it on that Phillips head, and a slotted screwdriver will work as well. But all we need to do then is loosen that screw up. That screw will come out just like that. Then once that screw is out, then we can remove this old seal from our valve. And just kind of wanted to show this to you up a little bit closer so you can see exactly how this looks and what to expect when you go to remove yours. Now, this is where we're going to need a completely new seal because we really can't reuse the old one. For obvious reasons, it's degrading. So I really recommend picking up one of these assortment kits like this one here. It's going to have all different sizes of washers. They're very inexpensive to just have on hand, and they can make a lot of other fixes aside from just this one. So you're gonna want a kit just like this to get a new washer. Here is our original washer, and then we wanna match it up with one out of that kit. This one matches up with it the most. This is a half flat washer. As you can see, it lines up with it perfectly. And while it does say half on it, it does have a 3/4 inch outside diameter. All right, so before I install the valve and the new washer and make this all working again, there's a little bit of prep that needs to be done to ensure a nice leak-tight seal. So what I always like to do when I've got this all opened up like this, I like to take a wire brush like this, and I like to just stick it in the housing there and just clean up all of my threads. But before I install my new washer on my valve here, I also want to clean the threads on this valve that go into the housing. This is usually where I see the most mineral buildup or gunk or just general buildup from over time. So I definitely want to make sure that I get these threads cleaned out as well. All right, so now as you can see, my threads here on my valve are shining again. So they're all nice and cleaned up and ready to be reinserted. So this is where then I can take my new washer. I'm going to put it in on top where the old washer was. So now I need to take the screw that I removed earlier to remove the old seal, put it back into the top, and by hand I'm going to turn it to the right or clockwise to tighten it down. Then once I've got that started, I'll go ahead, take my Phillips screwdriver and tighten it down the rest of the way. And I want to make sure it's down nice and tight so that we promote that really good seal. All right, so now the new seal is tightened down the way that it should be. But before we reinstall this, there's one more step that we have got to do in order to make sure that we get a nice leak-proof seal here. And that is by using some plumber's tape like this right here. And for the most part, this is very easy to apply if you just have some basic knowledge on it, and we're going to be putting it on our male threads here. So what I always like to do is whatever I'm working on or wanting to put thread seal tape or plumber's tape on, I want it to be facing me. And there's a reason for that, and I'll talk about that here in just a moment. So once I've got those threads facing me, I want to make sure that I start putting on my plumber's tape in a clockwise direction. This is incredibly important to make sure that we are going to get a good and proper seal. So again, just like that, I want it to be going in that clockwise direction so that when I insert this in, if you can't see right here, here's the end of my tape. If I just start pulling up on it, it starts to loosen it and starts to get bunched up. So if I was to put this on the opposite direction or counterclockwise, as soon as I start tightening this down, it's gonna start wanting to do that. Whereas instead, with it going clockwise, or the direction we have it going in, which is proper, as we spin it, it's actually gonna pull that end down tighter and just provide a very good connection. But then getting back to about the plumber's tape, whether it's a lubricant or sealant, it's more of a lubricant in that this is gonna allow for us to tighten this down into the housing much tighter. The tighter we can get it, the better seal that we're going to have. And I've got a whole video on this where at the end of this video, if you want to check it out, I go a lot more in depth as to why and what can happen if this is not done properly. So I'll have that linked at the end. One last thing that we want to make sure that we're doing before we insert this is we want to make sure our valve is completely open. If it was in the closed position, this would be extended up. And as we go to tighten this down in here, once it's tightened down, you would go to use your faucet and you wouldn't be able to turn it, because it's completely closed and extended. It's pushed up against the housing from you using a wrench, and it won't be able to turn. So you want to make sure that the valve is completely in the open position to where it's compressed all the way down like this. And once you've got that, that's when then you can start feeding it into and spinning it into clockwise into the housing itself. I'm just going to do this by hand until the valve is going to want to start closing up as I'm turning it to the right, just like that. So now that I'm noticing it's doing that, I still need to get that tighter. So I'm just going to take my pipe wrench, put it back on the housing like so, in the opposite direction that I had it in earlier to loosen it up. Since we're tightening it, I went in the opposite direction. I'm going to take my adjustable wrench, put it on that nut, and I'm going to turn it clockwise, to where if I start to go much further, I probably run a risk of causing some damage. So that's going to be right about there. So now what I want to do, now that that's all tightened down, now I do want to close my valve so that that seal is completely down. So when I go to turn my water back on, it doesn't just come shooting out. All right, so it's completely closed up. Now I can turn on the main water supply again and test this out. All right, so now I've got my main water supply back on, and now we can test everything out. As you can see, we do not have a drip of any kind. So that is showing us that this was installed properly. And since we replaced it with a brand new washer, it should last for many, many more years. Now let's go ahead and open it up, make sure that water is allowed to flow through it. So as you can see, we've got plenty of water coming out of there without opening it up too much. Go ahead and turn it off. And very quickly, we're gonna get just a little bit of residual making its way through the vacuum breaker. It takes a little bit of time to drain out, but just like that, it is completely drained out, and we don't have a drip here at all anymore. So as you saw, this is very easy to do. If you're not filming a video, I would say this would probably take around 5 to 10 minutes in order to replace that washer and put everything back together again. But again, like I mentioned earlier, for your convenience, I'm gonna have links for everything you saw in this video, including all the tools and materials. I'll have links for all of it down in the description down below. When you click on those links, it'll take you directly to whatever you clicked on, so you can check it all out for yourself. Now, really quickly before you go, if you found value in this video, then you will definitely find value in some other videos that I did in the past on related topics. I talked about one in the video where I go over how to properly seal threads when we're doing any kind of plumbing, dealing with pipe threads and things of that nature. I'll go over talking about actual pipe dope, where it should be used, how it works, and I'll also go over the thread seal tape or plumber's tape that I showed in this video, the proper ways in order to do that. Because if you're not doing it properly, there is a very good chance that over time, if not right away, you may have a leak issue. But if you've already seen that, or you'd like to watch a video where I go over how to actually completely replace an outdoor faucet, also pretty easy to do, then I have a video that you can check out on that as well. So whichever one you're interested in, all you have to do is pick between these two videos, click on whichever one you like, and it will take you directly to that video. But I hope that you found value in this video, and if you did, if you could do me a huge favor, hit that thumbs up button right down below. And of course, if you have any questions or comments still, you can leave those down in the comment section. And I'll catch you all in the next one. See ya.